The hardest thing about this project was trying to find the right poem. But after reading this poem, I found myself reading it over and over again and really trying to understand where he was emotionally when he wrote it. It's essentially a love poem, and it's not a happy love poem. It's a sad love poem. And that being said, it's really hard for anyone to relate to, because love is something that we really can't say we understand, and we all have our own opinions and ideas of what it means to us and what it can be. And some of us don't even really believe in it in the first place. But when reading this poem, I thought about my own relationship and how I feel right now. And one thing I always think about is the future. I think that's a common thing that anyone really thinks about when they're in a relationship. And I think about how things might end up. Obviously, one of the biggest things I think about is what happens if I lose her. The one thing I know is that no matter what happens, even if we don't end up together and we don't get to spend the rest of our lives together, I just want her to remember me. I just don't want her to forget about me. I just don't want to become another page in her book that just disappears over time. I think that's, to an extent, what he was trying to express and how he felt about this woman. Essentially, what this poem is about is about a man who is speaking to a woman who has come to the end of her life, and it's made apparent that they didn't end up together, and that he's pretty much speaking to her in a ghostly voice and pleading with her to remember her past and to think back and try to bring back the memory that there was one man that truly loved her for who she was as a person, and not for her exterior beauty or who she was at the time, but for who she was as a person and the person that she would become. The poem is about loving someone that forgets about you. It's about loving someone that doesn't love you back and continuing to love that person forever. When You Are Old, by William Butler Yeats. When you are old and gray and full of sleep and nodding by the fire, take down this book and slowly read, and dream of the soft look your eyes had once, and of their shadows deep. How many loved your moments of glad grace, and loved your beauty with love false or true, but one man loved the pilgrim soul in you, and loved the sorrows of your changing face. And bending down beside the glowing bars, murmur, a little sadly, how love fled and paced upon the mountains overhead, and hid his face amid a crowd of stars. There are two main aesthetic elements that I thought best help convey the overall meaning that Yeats was trying to express through this poem. The first is captured in the line, "And love the sorrows of your changing face." The reason why this one image is so important is because as a reader, you see this woman, and essentially you see her lose her beauty, lose her youth, and transform into this old, ugly, and unhappy old woman. The fact that he loved her through this entire transformation expresses two main things that Yeats was trying to show. And that was, one, that he loved her unconditionally, that he loved her for who she was, and nothing that changed on the outside affected that love, that he was going to love her no matter what, and that he loved her for the person she was and the person she was going to become. The second thing it expresses is the fact that he loved her pretty much through the sands of time, through all the years, and even through all the neglect that he had to go through. He continued to love her essentially forever. This is also kind of expressed in the second significant image, and that is captured in the line, "and hid his face amid a crowd of stars." why I think this image is so important is because it kind of helps symbolize eternal love. That stars are essentially eternal, at least compared to our lifetime, even though they are temporary. To us, they're there long before we're born and long after we die. So him being almost like one of the stars shows that he is always there for her, that he never left her side and he was always present. It also shows that even though he continued to love her and continued to always be there for her, that he was essentially forgotten and essentially lost amongst all the other men that came into her life.